Class 11, the second chapter of your syllabus is Basic Concepts of Economics. Economics, like any other subject, has its own terms and concepts. They are commonly used in our day-to-day life. Some of them would be used frequently in your textbook, such as wants, utility, price, value, wealth, welfare, money, markets, etc. They are not only used in your textbook but also in real life. All right. So one of them, the first concept that we are going to deal with is wants, and to that we are terming as human wants. The basis of all economic activities is the existence of human wants. The word want in a layman's language is a desire or wish. In day-to-day usage, words want and desire are used in synonymous sense. But in economics, the two are used in different sense. First, desire is the wish to have something, but want is an effective desire. A particular thing which can be satisfied by making an effort to acquire it. This is what you mean by effective desire. For example, a laborer might desire to have a Honda City car. That will only be his desire, but at the same time, the owner of the mill in which that laborer is working, he can purchase, he can ask for or want that car, because he is not only wishing for that car, but he can avail also. He has willingness also, he has the purchasing power also to purchase that car. So there is a difference between desire and want. Desire is only a wish to have something, whereas want is a effective desire where you have willingness also and the purchasing power as well. Human wants can be classified into two categories broadly. One is primary wants and the second is secondary wants. Human wants for the basic necessities of life are regarded as primary wants. Then primary wants refer to wants for those goods which are necessary for the very existence of human life and for the maintenance of normal efficiency. All right, you can understand this with the help of a example. Food, clothing and shelter are such essential wants that are very important for the very existence of human life. Now again we categorize these primary wants into two subsections. One, those wants which are necessary for the very existence of human life, for the which I have just given you an example, and the second category is wants for those goods which are necessary for maintaining normal efficiency of individuals. In this category, you can consider yourself that you are a student and you need a desk and a chair to study in order to maintain your normal efficiency. So these are the two subcategories of primary wants. Primary wants are those wants which cater to the basic necessities of human life. Right. Then the second category of human wants is the secondary wants. Secondary wants only arise when the primary wants are satisfied. Right. Now they relate to wants for those goods which cater to comfort and luxuries of life. Now wants for comfort are the wants for those goods which are source of comfort and happiness for people. In this category, you can say a refrigerator in the kitchen and a cooler in the bedroom. All these make our life comfortable. So they fall into the category of wants for comforts. Then second in want for luxuries. The wants for luxuries refer to wants for those goods which are very expensive and which are meant to show the wealth and power of a person. Now, modern and costly houses, expensive jewelry, expensive cars, and air conditioners are examples of luxury. So, this is the major classification of human wants. Then we come to the features. There are certain characteristics which can be identified uh, that yes, these are the wants. So, first feature is wants are unlimited, and we all know that our wants are unlimited. The want of a person, they begin when a child is born, and they keep on growing until that person goes to the graveyard. That is, unless he is alive, their want will always be there, and they multiply also. The wants have the tendency of multiplying, right? So this is the first feature of wants, that they are unlimited. The second is that wants are complementary. What do you mean by complementary? That at a time, two things can be demanded, right? Such as you can ask for a pen and a copy together. If a person is carrying a car, he will be asking for the petrol also. So these are the wants which arise together simultaneously. So such wants are known as complementary wants. Then third is substitution of wants. Now, some of the wants, there are certain wants which can be substituted with the help of the other good. Suppose you consume one kind of cold drink and that cold drink has become expensive, then you can go for some other cold drink at the same time to satisfy your desire for cold drink, right? So these goods are substitute. There are certain goods which have substitutes, so the people can substitute their want with the help of one good or the other, because they give the same level of satisfaction. Then third is wants are competitive. What do you mean by that? It refers to that man has limited income with which he can purchase either one commodity or the other commodity, right? Therefore, these commodities will compete with each other, right? When you have limited income, you have to decide which commodity has to be purchased first and which has to be given the second preference. So in that area, whichever demand is more urgent in need will be fulfilled first. This is what you mean by competitiveness of our want, and this exists because the income that we earn is limited. Our resources are limited or scarce, right? The next is wants multiply. Wants, they multiply. How is that happening? Because with the growth of human knowledge and science and technology, new goods have been produced. For example, nowadays every day a new model of mobile phones are developing in the market. So the wants, they are multiplying. Now mobile is not the only thing which when you purchase a mobile, your want is satisfied. Along with the mobile, you need a cover also, you need a screen guard also, you need various other things for the card, other accessories also you need for the mobile phone. So this is how the wants, they multiply in itself. The next is the wants, they reoccur. That, what do you mean by that? You mean to say that the wants cannot be satisfied permanently. Once you satisfy your want, it is a temporary phenomena. After a certain time, the wants, they will come up again. Suppose you are hungry and you eat your morning meal. After 2 hours or 3 hours, you will be again hungry and you will be asking for food again in the lunch time. So your wants will reoccur again and again. Then a single want becomes satisfied at one time. That is, even though all the wants taken together cannot be satisfied, yet it may be possible to satisfy a single want or a few want. We cannot satisfy all our wants simultaneously, but yes, we can satisfy one or some other wants together at a time. This is because the resources are insufficient to satisfy all the wants simultaneously. The next feature of wants is that some wants can be postponed. We all know that we cannot satisfy all the wants because our resources are limited. So we have to postpone some of our wants to future, so that we can satisfy the present and more urgent wants in present time, right? Suppose our income is limited and we have to get the ration for the family also, we have to deposit the fee of the children also, we have to pay the electricity bill also, and we have to purchase a two wheeler also. Now out of all these wants, we have to see which want has to be is more urgent and which has to be satisfied first, and that will take the least important want to the future, right? This is how we postpone the wants. And the next is wants, they differ in their urgency. This is what I said just now, that they differ in their urgency. Some of the wants are more urgent, you have to satisfy them urgently. Suppose that your session starts and you need to have the books for your class, so you'll have to purchase that book. But at the same time, if you have some other wants, you want a good you need a good suit, or you need something else, that want can be postponed, that can be shifted to the other time, right? So some wants are more urgent and some are less pressing, right? So we can adjust the wants accordingly. And then last is wants remain ahead of availability of goods and services. That is, we are always ahead of our resources. Our resources are less, but our wants are always more than our resources, and that is a fact of our life. Our salary is less and our demands are more. That is why we have to postpone, we have to shift certain wants to future in order to satisfy more urgent wants in present. These are all features of or characteristics of human wants. The next topic, children, that we are going to begin with is consumption. Now, before we start with consumption, what we studied was human wants, and for wants to be satisfied, commodities are needed. Right, and commodities are of two types in our reference, and they are goods and services. Goods are tangible things, they are material things. For example, shirt, car, shoes, table, all these are tangible things. And services, they are non-tangible things such as education, medical, haircut, all these are non-tangible things. Now both these forms of commodities, they need to be consumed in order to satisfy human wants. So we are relating to the previous topic, that first we studied about wants, what are wants, their categories, and then how to satisfy these wants. All right, now the next is meaning of consumption. The act of using goods and services. The concepts that we have just studied, goods and services. Goods are tangible things and services are non-tangible things, right? So the act of using these tangible and non-tangible things to satisfy human wants is called consumption. Even though we can consume things directly also and indirectly also, right? Sometimes we are consuming the things directly and sometimes we are consuming the things indirectly, but here we mean by consumption is by the direct use, right? Now, who's a consumer? The one who consumes goods and services is called a consumer, right? Just now we said that we can consume directly also and we can consume indirectly also. In some cases, consumption may take place immediately, that is, in one act of their use. For example, eating an apple, our hunger is satisfied immediately. This apple is now used up and we cannot use it again. This is instant hunger. This is instant consumption. In our act of consumption, we have consumed the commodity and the commodity is used up. We cannot use that commodity anymore, right? In some other cases, it may take place gradually. For example, durable goods such as clothes, you use the clothes over the years. Furniture is a durable commodity. Books, they are a source of information throughout your lives. So all these things, they are a source of, they are things which can give you they can give you satisfaction gradually throughout your lifespan, right? Then the next topic that we are going to start is sustainable consumption. Now, sustainable consumption says it is a consumption of goods and services which meets the needs of people and improves the quality of life without having any adverse impact on the environment and needs of the future generation. Now this is also a sort of consumption only, but here we are focusing on the type of consumption, on the type of goods and services that we are going to consume. Here we have to be specific that whatever we are consuming is not compromising with the environment and also not with the coming generations. Let us brief little more. To achieve the objective of such consumption, we have to consume such goods and services which minimize the use of natural resources, improve the efficiency of resources, and reduce environmental damages, pollution and emission of waste, so that the interest of the future generation is not jeopardized. Is that clear? That is, we are consuming, but we are not concerned about our own consumption only, but we are careful about the coming generation also, that not only we are using the resources for our own sake, but we are preserving the resources for the generations to come also. This is about the sustainable consumption, right? Then the next topic is utility. You have already been through this term utility, and you know what do you mean by utility. We'll take it in a very brief manner. Utility refers to want satisfying power of the commodity. Now it is the ability of a good to satisfy a want, right? So in objective terms, we can say utility may be defined as the amount of satisfaction derived from a good or service at a particular point of time. Now objective term, utility cannot be measured objectively. Absolute terms, we cannot measure utility, but certain economists such as Alfred Marshall, he has given a concept, he has developed a concept where he says that utility can be measured absolutely in absolute values, in numerical values. So we can say that utility can be measured in absolute values also, and at the same time it is a power to satisfy human want. Then we have certain features, I'll just name them very quickly. Utility is subjective, that is, it depends on the subject, and because it cannot be observed, and basically it cannot be observed and identified, so it depends on the subjective own. Subjective is the person, whosoever is consuming, whosoever is getting the satisfaction. It depends on the person's own subjective estimate how much utility that person is getting from the commodity. It completely depends on the intensity or the desire of the person to have that commodity. The second is utility is not measurable. We already said it is a mental phenomena. We cannot measure utility the way we measure other things. Alright, again I say that Alfred Marshall has given a cardinal approach where he says that utility can be measured, and that we will be seeing in detail in the next part, right? Then utility is relative. Utility is relative means it is, because it's not absolute, but it is relative in to its subjective nature. It depends on the subject's own estimate. We just said that, right? Therefore it varies from person to person. Now utility is not constant also, that is, it varies from place to place, time to time, and circumstances to circumstances. For example, a chapati or a plate of rice gives more utility to a person when he is hungry, right, as compared to a person when his belly is full. So it is differing on the person's desire or intensity for the commodity. Then next is utility is different from usefulness. Very important thing, these two things are completely different. Usefulness is something different and utility is something different. Utility means it is satisfying you. It may not be something good for you, but it is giving you satisfaction, so you will consume that commodity. But it may not be useful for you. For example, a person who is habitual of drinking alcohol, for that person the alcohol is giving him utility, but definitely liquor is not going to be useful for that person, because it is not healthy, it is not good for that person in any way, right? Then the next is no moral or legal connotations. What do you mean by that? That utility has nothing to do with moral, immoral, or legal or illegal. What does it mean? That it has no ethical or moral implications. That is, when a person is consuming something, he is not considering whether the commodity is a legal commodity or an illegal commodity, whether it is moral or immoral for him or for the society. It is neutral between good and bad, between useful and harmful. That is, a commodity may be considered immoral for some, right? For example, possession of a gun by a dacoit may be illegal, but it has utility for him, so he will carry it along. And the last is utility is abstract. Utility abstract in the sense that it cannot be seen or touched. It's a mental phenomena. It is in our minds. It is psychological, so we cannot measure in absolute values. All this is all with the features of utility.